Most people think making money from gardening requires acres of land, expensive equipment, and a full-scale farm. But some of the most profitable crops in the world don't need huge fields at all. In fact, certain plants can produce incredible value from spaces smaller than a bedroom. Raised beds, containers, balconies, tiny backyards. Smart growers are discovering something powerful. Profitability is not about growing more, it's about growing smarter. Because once you focus on high-value crops that produce heavily in tiny spaces, everything changes. Today, we're counting down 10 of the most profitable crops per square foot. And make sure you stay until number 4, because that crop can be harvested in less than 2 weeks and sold for surprisingly high prices. And number 1 may completely change the way you think about small space gardening forever. If you enjoy learning how to grow more food and more value from less space, subscribe now and join our growing community. Let's begin. At number 10, we have lettuce, one of the fastest and most efficient crops you can grow in a small space. Most people underestimate lettuce because it feels ordinary. But when you look at it from a productivity perspective, lettuce becomes incredibly powerful. First, it grows fast. Many varieties can be harvested in just weeks, allowing multiple planting cycles throughout the year. Second, lettuce thrives in dense planting systems. Instead of requiring huge spacing, it can grow tightly packed in raised beds, containers, vertical towers, and hydroponic systems. That means a tiny footprint can produce an enormous amount of edible greens over time. Another reason lettuce becomes profitable is repeat harvesting. With cut-and-come-again methods, growers harvest outer leaves while the center continues producing new growth. One planting can generate multiple harvests without restarting the entire crop. Fresh lettuce is also highly valuable because store-bought versions spoil quickly and often lose flavor fast. Homegrown lettuce tastes fresher, looks better, and gives growers consistent production from very little space. For small gardeners trying to maximize output, lettuce proves something important right away. High-value growing does not always require exotic crops. Sometimes, efficiency itself creates value. At number 9, we have green onions, one of the most overlooked money-saving and space-efficient crops in gardening. Green onions grow vertically, require very little room, and can even regrow repeatedly from scraps. That alone makes them valuable for small space systems. But their real strength is frequency of use. Few crops appear in as many meals as green onions. Soups, noodles, salads, eggs, stir-fries, tacos. People use them constantly. That creates continuous demand in both home kitchens and local markets. Another advantage is speed. Green onions grow quickly and recover rapidly after harvesting. Instead of waiting months for a return, growers often see fresh growth almost immediately. This repeated cycle transforms tiny spaces into long-term production systems. Green onions also perform extremely well in containers and balcony gardens, meaning almost anyone can grow them, regardless of living situation. And because they are lightweight and compact, growers can fit large numbers into surprisingly small areas. For smart gardeners, green onions represent leverage. Small input, small space, constant output. They prove that profitability often comes from practicality, not size. At number 8, we have garlic, a crop that combines high value, long storage life, and incredible efficiency. Garlic is especially powerful because premium varieties can sell for significantly more than ordinary grocery store garlic. Hardneck garlic, heirloom garlic, organic garlic. These specialty types attract serious interest from food lovers and farmers market buyers. Another reason garlic works so well in small space gardening is density. Large numbers of bulbs can grow in compact beds while requiring relatively little maintenance during the season. Once planted, garlic mostly develops quietly underground until harvest time. But perhaps the biggest advantage is storage. Unlike delicate greens that spoil quickly, garlic can last for months when cured properly. That means growers are not forced to sell or use it immediately. They gain flexibility. Garlic also has emotional value. Fresh, homegrown garlic tastes dramatically stronger and richer than mass-produced supermarket versions. Once people experience the difference, many never want to go back. In a tiny garden, crops that store well become especially important because they extend value far beyond harvest day. Garlic transforms a small patch of soil into long-term usable food and potential income. And at number 7, we have cherry tomatoes, one of the most productive and profitable crops for vertical gardening systems. Cherry tomatoes are powerful because they combine 3 things at once: high yield, high demand, and premium flavor. Store-bought cherry tomatoes are often expensive compared to larger tomatoes, especially organic or heirloom varieties. But homegrown cherry tomatoes can produce enormous harvests from a relatively small vertical footprint. Once trained onto cages, strings, or trellises, indeterminate tomato vines continue climbing and producing fruit for months. One healthy plant can generate hundreds of tomatoes over a season. And because cherry tomatoes are harvested continuously instead of all at once, growers get steady output instead of one single payoff. Another major advantage is perceived value. Colorful mixed varieties, yellow, purple, striped, red, look premium at markets and in home kitchens. People willingly pay more for visually unique, flavorful tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes also work beautifully in containers, balconies, and compact raised beds, making them ideal for urban growers. They prove that vertical growing can transform tiny spaces into surprisingly productive food systems. At number 6, we have herbs, especially basil, cilantro, mint, and parsley, some of the most profitable plants per square foot in existence. Herbs are powerful because they grow densely, harvest repeatedly, and sell for extremely high value relative to their size. Think about how expensive tiny herb packages are in grocery stores. Now imagine producing fresh bundles continuously from a few containers or raised beds. Basil, in particular, becomes incredibly profitable because it grows aggressively in warm weather and responds well to repeated harvesting. The more you cut it, the more it branches. That creates a cycle of continuous production from a very small area. Herbs are also ideal for restaurant demand, farmers markets, and direct local sales because freshness matters enormously. Fresh herbs lose quality quickly after harvest, which gives local growers a huge advantage over shipped products. Another major benefit is accessibility. Herbs do not require huge gardens or advanced systems. A sunny balcony can become an herb-producing machine. And because herbs add flavor to nearly every cuisine, demand remains constant. For small space gardeners focused on efficiency, herbs may be one of the smartest investments possible. Now we reach number 5, strawberries, one of the most emotionally powerful and commercially valuable crops you can grow in small spaces. Fresh strawberries are expensive, delicate, and highly perishable. That alone creates opportunity. Store-bought strawberries often travel long distances and lose flavor quickly, while homegrown strawberries taste dramatically sweeter and fresher. Another reason strawberries dominate small space gardening is vertical adaptability. Hanging baskets, stacked towers, wall planters, gutter systems. Strawberries thrive in setups that maximize vertical space. That means growers can dramatically increase production without increasing ground area. Strawberries also have strong emotional appeal. Families love them. Kids love picking them. Customers instantly recognize their value. This creates both personal satisfaction and strong market demand. Another advantage is propagation. Strawberry runners allow growers to multiply plants over time, gradually expanding production without constantly buying new starts. And because strawberries can return year after year in many climates, one setup may continue producing season after season. Strawberries represent something bigger than simple gardening. They turn tiny spaces into experiences people genuinely enjoy, while also producing high-value harvests that almost everyone wants. At number 4, we have microgreens. And this crop completely changes the economics of small space growing. Microgreens are harvested at an extremely young stage, usually just days after germination. That means growers can move from seed to harvest incredibly fast, sometimes in less than 2 weeks. Speed alone makes microgreens powerful. But the real shock comes from density and value. Thousands of tiny plants can grow in trays occupying minimal space, producing harvests worth far more per square foot than many traditional crops. Restaurants, chefs, health-conscious buyers, and farmers markets often pay premium prices for fresh microgreens because of their intense flavor, visual appeal, and nutritional concentration. Another major advantage is indoor growing. Unlike large outdoor crops, microgreens can be grown inside spare rooms, shelves, basements, garages, or apartments using artificial lighting. That completely removes the "I don't have land" excuse. Microgreens also scale easily. 1 tray becomes 5. 5 become 20. And because harvest cycles are so short, growers can refine systems quickly and continuously improve efficiency. For people looking at gardening from a business perspective, microgreens often feel less like traditional farming and more like manufacturing food at high efficiency. At number 3, we have hot pepper, one of the most profitable vegetables you can grow in a surprisingly small space. Peppers are powerful because a single plant can keep producing for months, often yielding dozens of fruits from one container or garden spot. And unlike many vegetables, specialty hot peppers often sell for premium prices, especially unique varieties that are difficult to find in regular grocery stores. Jalapenos, habaneros, cayenne, Thai peppers, and super hot varieties all attract different buyers. Another advantage is versatility. Peppers can be sold fresh, dried, turned into powders, or used in homemade sauces, giving growers multiple ways to create value from the same harvest. They also store better than many soft vegetables, which reduces waste. For small space gardeners, peppers offer exactly what profitable growing requires: compact plants, long harvest seasons, and high-value output. One small container can quietly produce far more than most people expect. At number 2, we have Saffron Crocus, the plant responsible for producing saffron, one of the most expensive spices in the world. Saffron's value comes from rarity and labor intensity. Each flower produces only tiny red stigmas, which must be harvested carefully by hand. That means even small quantities carry surprisingly high market value. But what makes saffron especially interesting for small space growers is concentration. You do not need acres of land to produce something valuable. A relatively compact planting area can generate an extremely high-value crop compared to ordinary vegetables. Saffron crocus bulbs also fit neatly into raised beds, containers, and controlled garden systems. Another advantage is uniqueness. Most people never attempt saffron growing, which creates curiosity and premium perception. For home growers, saffron represents the idea that value is not always measured by weight or size. Tiny harvests can still carry enormous worth. And beyond profit, saffron connects gardening to history, cuisine, and culture in a way few crops can. It transforms a small garden into something far more specialized and memorable than ordinary production. And finally, number 1, gourmet mushrooms again, but this time viewed as the ultimate small space food business system. Why do mushrooms deserve the top spot? Because they combine nearly every advantage on this list into one category: high value, indoor production, vertical scaling, fast cycles, strong demand, minimal land requirements. A single small room can potentially produce harvests worth far more than many outdoor gardens. And unlike seasonal crops dependent on weather, indoor mushroom systems can operate year-round under controlled conditions. That consistency matters enormously for profitability. Another reason mushrooms dominate is diversification. Oyster mushrooms, shiitake, lion's mane, chestnut mushrooms. Multiple varieties allow growers to target different markets and price points. Mushrooms also feel premium. Restaurants, chefs, and specialty grocery buyers often see them as artisan products rather than ordinary produce. And psychologically, mushrooms change the way people think about farming itself. They prove that modern growing is not always about tractors and giant fields. Sometimes, the future of profitable food production looks more like a compact indoor system producing high-value harvests efficiently and continuously. What all these crops reveal is something most people never realize. A profitable garden is not built by planting more. It's built by choosing differently. Most people fill their space with crops that take months, demand constant care, and return very little. They focus on volume, not value. They think bigger gardens mean bigger results, but the smartest growers understand the opposite. A few square feet can outperform an entire backyard if every plant earns its place. That's the real difference. Lettuce turns quick cycles into constant harvest. Herbs create premium value from containers. Strawberries stack vertically and multiply. Microgreens produce in days. Garlic stores for months. Mushrooms transform unused indoor space into income. And crops like saffron prove that some of the most valuable harvests don't need much room at all. So the question is no longer how much land you have. The real question is, how much value can you create from the space you already own? Because once you start thinking that way, even a balcony, a patio, or one small raised bed stops being just a garden and starts becoming something much more powerful. Maximizing profit per square foot changes the way people think about gardening. But earning more from a small space isn't only about choosing valuable crops. It's also about growing vertically. Climbing vegetables can transform tiny gardens, balconies, and narrow spaces into highly productive growing systems, allowing gardeners to harvest far more food without needing additional land. Next, let's explore the best climbing plants for balconies and small gardens. Most people think growing food requires a big backyard, wide garden beds, open land, lots of space. So when they live in an apartment, a townhouse, or a home with a tiny crowded yard, they assume growing serious amounts of food is impossible. But smart gardeners discovered something powerful a long time ago. You don't always need more land. You need more vertical space. Because once plants start growing up instead of out, everything changes. Walls become food sources. Fences become harvest systems. Railings become productive growing spaces. And suddenly, even a tiny balcony can start feeding you. Today, we're counting down 10 climbing vegetables and vertical crops that are perfect for small spaces. And make sure you stay until number 4, because that plant can turn one small trellis into a food factory. And number 1 can produce more food from a single vine than most people would ever believe possible. If you enjoy learning how to grow more food with less space, subscribe now and join our growing community. Let's begin. At number 10, we have cucumbers, one of the easiest and most rewarding climbing vegetables for beginners. Most people picture cucumbers sprawling across the ground, taking over large sections of the garden. But once trained vertically, cucumbers become a completely different plant. Instead of spreading outward, they climb upward aggressively, using tendrils to grab onto trellises, cages, fences, and netting. This instantly transforms wasted vertical space into productive growing space. And there's another major advantage: healthier fruit. Cucumbers hanging vertically stay cleaner, straighter, and less likely to rot compared to fruit sitting on damp soil. Airflow also improves, reducing disease problems that often appear in crowded gardens. Another reason cucumbers work so well in small spaces is productivity. One healthy vine can produce cucumber after cucumber throughout the season, especially when harvested regularly. And because cucumbers grow quickly, they create visible progress fast, which keeps beginner gardeners motivated. Fresh slicing cucumbers, pickling cucumbers, lemon cucumbers. There are endless varieties suited for vertical growing. For balconies, patios, and compact backyards, cucumbers prove that even a small structure can become a serious source of food. At number 9, we have pole beans, one of the most efficient vertical crops in gardening. Unlike bush beans that stay compact near the ground, pole beans climb aggressively upward, often reaching impressive heights in a single season. This is exactly what makes them so valuable for small space gardening. Instead of using square footage, they use height. Give them a trellis, bamboo poles, string supports, or even a simple fence, and they transform vertical space into continuous harvests. Pole beans are also incredibly productive. As long as you keep harvesting, the plants keep producing more pods. That repeated harvest system turns a narrow strip of soil into a long-term food source. Another advantage is accessibility. Harvesting beans vertically is easier on the body because the pods hang down visibly instead of hiding low to the ground. Pole beans also improve the garden itself by fixing nitrogen into the soil, helping future crops grow better. In the kitchen, they are versatile, affordable, and easy to preserve by freezing or canning. For people with tiny gardens, pole beans represent a huge shift in thinking. You stop measuring food production only by ground space and start measuring it by volume. At number 8, we have peas, one of the most beginner-friendly climbing crops you can grow. Peas naturally want to climb. Give them even a simple support structure, and they immediately begin reaching upward with delicate curling tendrils. This makes them perfect for balconies, narrow raised beds, and small backyard gardens. One reason peas are so satisfying is speed. They germinate quickly, climb quickly, and often become productive early in the season. That fast progress creates momentum for new gardeners. Another advantage is beauty. Pea vines covered in flowers and hanging pods create a soft, lush vertical wall that feels both productive and decorative. In many ways, peas combine food gardening with ornamental gardening. They also make excellent use of cooler seasons, allowing gardeners to maximize production before summer heat arrives. Snap peas, snow peas, shelling peas. There are multiple types that work beautifully in vertical systems. And because peas grow upward instead of outward, they allow more plants to fit into smaller areas. A tiny trellis can suddenly produce bowls of fresh peas in surprisingly little space. Peas prove that even delicate plants can become powerful when they start climbing. At number 7, we have Malabar spinach, one of the most unusual and valuable climbing greens for warm climates. Traditional spinach struggles badly in heat, often bolting and failing when temperatures rise. Malabar spinach changes that completely. Though not true spinach botanically, it produces edible leaves on vigorous climbing vines that absolutely love warm weather. In fact, heat often makes this plant grow even faster. Give it a trellis, fence, or vertical support, and it can quickly cover the structure in dense greenery. This makes it perfect for turning harsh, sunny balconies or hot backyard corners into productive vertical gardens. Another advantage is continuous harvest. Instead of pulling the entire plant, you harvest leaves and tender tips while the vine keeps climbing and producing more growth. That creates long-term productivity from a very small footprint. Malabar spinach is also visually striking, with glossy leaves and colorful stems that make it look almost tropical. It's a perfect example of how vertical gardening can combine beauty and food production at the same time. For people living in hot climates with limited space, Malabar spinach can feel like discovering a secret weapon. At number 6, we have mini pumpkins, one of the most visually dramatic climbing crops you can grow. Most people assume pumpkins require huge, sprawling gardens, but smaller varieties can actually be trained vertically with surprising success. Once the vines begin climbing a sturdy trellis or arch, hanging fruits create an incredible effect. Tiny pumpkins suspended in the air transform ordinary structures into living sculptures. But this is not just about appearance. Vertical growing improves airflow, reduces ground rot, and makes harvesting easier. It also frees valuable floor space underneath for other crops. That is a huge advantage in compact gardens where every square foot matters. Another reason small pumpkins work so well vertically is psychological impact. They make a small space feel productive and magical at the same time. People walking by instantly notice them. Kids love them. Visitors remember them. And beyond decoration, they remain practical food crops for soups, roasting, baking, and seasonal meals. Mini pumpkins prove that vertical gardening is not only about efficiency, it's also about transforming tiny spaces into places that feel abundant and alive. Now we reach number 5. And this may be the most productive plant most people are already growing without realizing its true potential: tomatoes. Specifically, indeterminate tomatoes, the varieties that grow continuously like vines throughout the season. Most beginners underestimate how massive these plants can become when supported properly. Left alone, they sprawl chaotically across the ground. But once trained vertically using cages, strings, stakes, or trellises, tomatoes become vertical food factories. Some vines can grow taller than a person while producing clusters of fruit for months. And because the fruit hangs vertically, airflow improves, and disease pressure often decreases compared to crowded ground growth. Another reason tomatoes dominate small space gardening is value. Fresh, homegrown tomatoes taste dramatically better than most store-bought versions, making every harvest feel rewarding. Cherry tomatoes, Roma tomatoes, slicers, heirlooms. There are endless varieties suited for vertical systems. And perhaps most importantly, tomatoes create the emotional feeling of abundance. Seeing heavy clusters hanging from vertical vines completely changes how people view small space gardening. Suddenly, a balcony railing or narrow patio feels capable of producing real food. At number 4, we have yard-long beans, and this plant may be the closest thing to a vertical food machine on the entire list. Yard-long beans thrive in heat and climb aggressively upward, producing incredibly long hanging pods that can look almost unreal. Some pods grow well over a foot long, dangling from trellises like green ropes. Visually, few plants create a stronger impact. But their real power is productivity. Once the vines begin producing, harvests can become almost non-stop. The more you pick, the more the plant keeps making new beans. This turns one vertical structure into weeks and sometimes months of continuous harvest. Yard-long beans are especially valuable for small space gardeners because they maximize vertical production in an extremely efficient way. They also tolerate hot weather far better than many traditional bean varieties, making them perfect for balconies and urban gardens exposed to summer heat. In the kitchen, they work beautifully in stir-fries, sautés, soups, and curries. Yard-long beans prove something important. A tiny growing footprint does not mean tiny harvests. Sometimes the most productive crops are the ones willing to climb. At number 3, we have passion fruit, one of the most beautiful edible climbing plants you can grow. Passion fruit vines grow fast, climb aggressively, and can transform fences, walls, pergolas, and balconies into lush green privacy screens loaded with exotic fruit. This is where vertical gardening becomes more than food production. It becomes environmental design. One healthy vine can create shade, privacy, and harvests at the same time. Passion fruit flowers are also stunning, giving the plant ornamental value even before fruit appears. Another reason passion fruit works so well in small spaces is layering. Instead of occupying valuable ground space, it turns overhead and unused vertical surfaces into productive growing zones. That dramatically expands the usable capacity of compact gardens. And once fruit begins forming, the rewards feel almost tropical. Fresh passion fruit has intense flavor and can be used in drinks, desserts, smoothies, sauces, and more. For people wanting a backyard that feels lush and alive instead of cramped and limited, passion fruit changes everything. It proves vertical gardening can feed you while completely transforming the atmosphere of a space. At number 2, we have loofah, also known as loofah, one of the most surprising vertical crops on this list. Most people know loofahs as bath sponges sold in stores. What they don't realize is those sponges grow from giant climbing gourds. And when harvested young, the fruits are actually edible too. That means loofah gives 2 completely different harvests depending on timing. Grow them vertically on strong trellises, and the vines quickly create dense green walls covered in hanging fruits. The visual effect alone makes this plant unforgettable. But the long-term value is even more impressive. Mature dried fruits can become natural biodegradable sponges that replace synthetic products in the home. Suddenly, one plant is producing food, household products, and vertical shade all at once. Very few crops offer that level of versatility. Loofah vines also grow rapidly in warm weather, making them ideal for balconies, fences, and sunny backyard structures. For many gardeners, discovering loofah completely changes what they think a garden can produce. It's not just food anymore. It's a self-sustaining system. And finally, number 1, chayote squash. This plant is the definition of abundance. One healthy chayote vine can grow with unbelievable energy, climbing fences, trees, arches, pergolas, and trellises while producing enormous amounts of food over time. In warm climates, the vine can become massive, turning vertical structures into dense walls of greenery loaded with hanging fruit. And that's exactly why chayote earns the top spot. Few plants produce so much food from a single root system. In some cases, one mature vine can yield dozens upon dozens of squash in a season. That level of productivity is game-changing for small-space gardeners. Another advantage is versatility. Young shoots, tendrils, fruits, and even some underground portions can be eaten depending on the growing method and culture. In other words, much of the plant becomes useful. Chayote also stores reasonably well and adapts to many dishes including soups, sautés, roasting, and stir-fries. When people think of tiny spaces, they usually think of limitation. Chayote completely destroys that idea. It turns one vertical structure into a serious food-producing system. Now step back and look at what these plants really reveal. Most people think gardening is limited by land, but smart gardeners understand something different. Production is not only horizontal, it's vertical. Cucumbers climb, beans rise upward, peas cover trellises, spinach vines thrive in heat, pumpkins hang overhead, tomatoes become towers of food. Yard-long beans turn walls into harvest systems. Passion fruit creates edible privacy. Loofah produces food and household tools. And chayote transforms a single vine into abundance. This is the real power of vertical gardening. You stop seeing fences, railings, and walls as barriers, and start seeing them as opportunities. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe now and tell us in the comments, which climbing crop would you grow first?